talking about yourself, and I know some of you haven't heard this story, so I have to tell my story, right? So, Youth is the name of the story. So, January 4th, we had 80 people at our house, and at the end of about noontime, I got a little ache in the side of my foot. I thought I must have misstepped on one of the stairs when I was moving all the chairs up there. By the time people left, by the time I went to bed, my foot was the size of a grapefruit in my ankle, and it was not very comfortable at all. It was a lot of pain. By the next morning, the other foot started to go, and by the end of the next day, my knee was swollen like a volleyball. And I couldn't walk. And I was miserable. And I am a miserable patient. So a miserable patient with a non-caregiver, bad combination. And doctors are the worst patients. And I couldn't control the pain, and I was miserable, and I was stuck in a recliner, unable to walk, scooting to the bathroom on my butt, which was very undignified and did not do much for my male ego. And I was stuck in that position from January 4th to February 14th. My in-laws came over to visit. Now, even though they live on the same property, we don't see them every day. They have their own life, which was part of the design, right? And so they came over to visit, and they used words like Auschwitz, Buchenwald. By the way, this week was the 70-year anniversary of the release of Auschwitz, in case you didn't know that, trivia. And they used the word C, the big C word, the cancer word, because I had lost 25 pounds sitting in that chair. Because I didn't want to eat and I didn't want to drink, because if I ate or drank, I knew it had to come out the other end, okay? And I didn't want to go to the bathroom. And I had tried things that my friends and my alternative healthcare practitioners had shared with me, and it wasn't working. And I tried traditional medications for pain and pain control, and they weren't working. And so when my in-laws, who are very traditional, very allopathic medicine people, Marcus Welby raised type folks, they said, you're going to a real doctor, because what you're doing isn't working. And so I started a journey of 9 doctors. They first thought it was gout, and they thought it was this, and they thought it was that. And I had 2 doctors that were in practice for 40 years say to me, I've never seen anything like this before. And I didn't want to be that guy, but I was that guy. And after 6 weeks of being in the chair and sleeping in the chair and eating in the chair and not eating in the chair, and my focus was declining, the pain, you can only control pain with your mind so long before you just get worn out. And so I begged Julie to take me to Punta Cana. We had earned the trip, the success trip, and she's like, dude, you can't even walk. What are you thinking? And my in-laws were like, dude, you can't even walk. What are you thinking? I said, I got to get out of here. I'm starting to get really depressed. You know, that first scene of Lethal Weapon where he's looking at the bullet all the time, sitting on the couch. I wasn't quite at that point, but I was starting to remember that movie. And so I went to Punta Cana in a wheelchair, very undignified. Now, I had helped a friend of mine, Art Berg, get in and out of his wheelchair probably 200 or 300 times over a 5-year period, getting him on and off a stage and in and out of cars. And I would sit in his wheelchair and take it away from him and play with it, but it's different when you need it. Mm-hmm. People don't make eye contact with you. They treat you like you have leprosy, like you live in Florida. And so it was not fun, but it is the best way to get through TSA. And in Punta Cana, you know, it's a huge resort, so I was in a wheelchair scooter, and we went early because we had a leadership team meeting, and the president of the company saw me and immediately pulled Julie aside and said, Auschwitz, Buchenwald, cancer, what's going on? Because I hadn't let Julie tell anyone that I was in that situation. I'm kind of private that way, so it is kind of weird telling this story. And I didn't realize how hard that is on a woman when you don't let them share, okay? You gotta let your woman share. I learned that from this experience. And the president said, you know, what's going on? And he was scared, just like I was scared, because nothing was working. But Punta Cana was relaxing, and I got some people to carry me into the water, kind of like Jason carried that gentleman into the water. And it was very soothing to be in salt water, and I knew it would be. But I still couldn't walk. And the second to last night, Scott gave me a capsule of youth. And the idea was that I would come to an event and show you, hey, this is cool. It's a capsule that's never been invented before. It's a capsule within a capsule, and it's a liquid. And I was supposed to save that capsule and show it. But I had heard through the buzz line that part of youth might assist me in the situation I had. And so I took that capsule before I went to bed. I'm like, this thing's going to break open in my pocket, and I'm going to ruin my pants. Like, that's the least of my worries at that time, right? But I took it, and I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, half the swelling and half the pain was gone. Now, I have a lot of experience with hypnosis, and so I thought, well, maybe I just gave myself one of those great hypnotic suggestions, and the placebo effect is anywhere from 25 to 75% of healing anyway, so maybe it's just a coincidence. But Julie and her parents are grounded in that Western medicine model, and she said, no, you took something, and now it doesn't hurt. And so she begged and begged. She was the first to beg Scott to get me in the clinical trials for youth and get me some youth. And when I got my youth, and actually how I got my youth was Scott gave me the remainder of his bottle before we left Punta Cana.
Mostly because he's freaked out.
Yeah, because he was freaked out. I was freaked out. And so 2 days of being on youth, and I'm able to walk again. And I haven't been off youth since. And I'm not going off it because we still don't know what the situation is with me. The best we can tell from all the tests that I've had is that I got heavy metal toxicity thanks to spraying this little compound that's illegal in Europe and illegal in Australia, but it's still perfectly legal in the US, and it's called Roundup. Okay? And so 75 gallons last April is what started all this adventure, and then 25 gallons in July and 25 gallons in August. And so I polluted my body with tin. Now that's really confusing for those of you that are researchers, because if you go to PubMed.gov, the biggest database in the world for literature for doctors, and you look up tin toxicity, you find maybe 4 articles, and it's tin toxicity in rats. So that here I am again, that guy. So that's my story with youth.